So there's been a pretty massive recoil overhaul with this wipe of Escape from Tarkov, and that's allowed you to use a much wider variety of weapons, with those weapons actually being good. So in this video, I want to go over the top 5 weapons you can buy from level 1 traders that are going to work very well early on in the wipe. And this wipe has also come with a ton of changes to the ammo availability, so you're actually not able to buy near as many different ammo types. A bunch of the different ammo types you're not even able to buy ammo for from traders until later on. So finding weapons that are good at level 1 or level 2 traders is going to be very important as well. Now, starting off is one that I think is a very good and very underrated right now because I haven't been seeing a lot of people use that, and that's the Keter. And you can either do the trade-in for the silence Keter, which is going to be 3 clins, or you can just buy a normal Keter, not silenced, for 21,000 rubles, pretty cheap, but you can also buy an infinite amount of 20 round magazines, which isn't too bad, especially early on. Now, the ammo is where this weapon actually becomes really good. And I don't think a lot of people know about this because there's this round, which is PMRG028, and you can buy 400 of these every reset, and they're only 94 rubles a piece, so they're generally pretty cheap. But this round gives you 65 base damage. Now, you don't get that much base damage at the 9x18 caliber until you get up to like SP8 or SP7. And this can still pen class 2, but 9x18 you're going to want to be shooting for legs or shooting for arms, and this does very high base damage, and you can get it at level 1 traders. So you're able to buy the Keter, as many 20 round max as you want, and this very good flash ammo for a very cheap, all at level 1 traders. And sticking with Prapor, we have the PP19. This is the weapon I've been using most personally. This thing is an absolute laser beam, and it's been doing very well early wipe. It's only 21,000 a Prapor, so it's very cheap, and you're actually able to get a lot of other parts for this. So first off, you can go down and buy basically an infinite amount of 30 round magazines for this, 2,600 rubles a piece. Very easy, don't have to worry about magazines, which most other weapons you're not able to get high capacity magazines early on. And then you can go down, and there are 2 different sights that you can just put directly on this weapon. You have the Cobra EKP8, or the one I like a lot more is the Cobra EKP1S. The red dot on this sight barely moves, and they're both right around the same price at 10,000 rubles. So you're getting a sight, which is something you usually can't get this early. You're getting 30 round magazines, as many as you want, for very cheap, which you usually can't get. And this is 9x19, so it's still going to be a somewhat decent ammo this early on. And you can buy a green tracer for 500 every reset, which is still a decent ammo early on. And if you're a USEC, you do start with a ton of M882, which is only slightly better than green tracer. So you're able to just go buy tons of green tracer, 30 round magazines, get a sight, and this thing's going to be a complete laser beam. Very good for early on. And then for our final weapon of Prapor, we have the AKS-74UB. Now, this is going to be a little bit more expensive at 70,000 rubles because this one is silenced. You can also buy any of the other 74Us. The cheapest one is only going to be 24,000. So if you don't want it silenced, you want to spend a lot less rubles, you can just buy the unsilenced one. You're going to be able to do basically everything the same, but the silencer is obviously going to be silenced, going to give you a lot less recoil, and pretty similar to the PP19, you're able to very cheaply buy infinite 30 round magazines, but you're also able to get the same sights you can put on the PP19. So both of these Cobra sights, whichever one you like better, and again, they're only going to be 10k. There's also a limit of 5 on both of them, so with that limit of 10, you're basically able to have sights on this at all times, and early on in the wipe, having those sights is very good. And once you get to ammo at this caliber, they've been sold out pretty decently. US is actually going to be the best, and you're able to buy a good chunk if they're not currently sold out, but PRS really hasn't been sold out. So if you don't have any other ammos, you haven't found any ammo, you can buy PRS. It's not the best, but it's still going to be a decent ammo for early on, and you're able to buy as much as you want. This is very cheap, but I'd recommend getting that US when it's not currently sold out. And there's going to be a higher caliber round, so it's generally going to have better pen than the lower caliber weapons we've gone over so far. And then for our final 2 weapons, we're going to be going over to Peacekeeper, and we're going to be starting off with the classic, the MP5. It's going to be a little bit expensive early on at 262 USD, and this weapon's pretty much always been a laser beam. It's obviously going to be a laser beam now as well, and you can get 30 round magazines, again, as many as you want. If you want to save a little bit of money, you can also get 20 rounders. I would generally recommend just going with the 30s. And then the same with the PP19, it's going to be 9x19, so you can go and buy green tracer. And again, if you're a USEC, you already have a ton of M882, and you're going to be fine finding so many other players running 9x19. You can just kill them, loot them. I've been getting just tons of M882 just from killing other players. They're doing pistol runs, they're using MP5s. There should be just tons of 9x19 laying around. Now, a big downside with the MP5 is you can't easily get a sight early on, but the iron sights aren't too bad, and this thing's a laser beam with 30 rounds, so you're just able to spray people down pretty easily. And I think the last weapon is going to surprise people with how good it actually is this wipe, and that's going to be the M19, the Classic. Because with these massive recoil changes, pistols are actual usable weapons now. Before, you would shoot a pistol, the first shot would make the gun point at the ceiling. Now, they actually have a manageable recoil. You're actually able to put multiple rounds on the target pretty easily. But one of the best parts about the 1911, especially this early, is it's using 45 ACP, and you're able to buy basically infinite laser match FMJ, and it's going to be pretty cheap. You can buy as many rounds of this as you want, and laser match does 76 damage, and it has really high pen against class 2 and a low pen against class 3, so you can even have the possibility of still pen in class 3, but it does so much base damage, especially this early, that shooting legs, shooting arms, or shooting people with class 2 armor, this thing's just going to shred most things people are going to be wearing. Now, one of the downsides of this pistol is you can only get 11 round magazines. Now, it is limited to 7 with those. If you run out of those, you can get 7 round magazines. It's also limited to 8 with those. The mags are generally pretty cheap, and the ammo is going to be pretty good, so the 11 round mags aren't going to be too bad. Now, there's a small upside. You can get this rail mount right here, and then you can also get a base on it, and then you can put any number of sights because there's a bunch of different bases you can also get. I just put a random sight on here, so if you want to buy a few different pieces and find a cheap pistol sight, you can do that as well. That's generally still going to be pretty cheap as long as you don't buy some of the more expensive sights. But if you just want to go super cheap, no sights, just a base 11 round mag with the cheap ammo, this pistol is going to be really cheap and going to have that pretty good ammo. I think this is actually underrated, especially since early on you get the quest to kill 3 PMCs with a pistol. This is going to be your best way to do that. But that's been the top 5 weapons to get from level 1 traders early on within this wipe. I think all of these weapons are going to be really good options with this massive recoil change. These weapons are all going to be controllable. So I think in this wipe, it's going to be much more important that you find a steady supply of good ammo because so many of the weapons are actually usable now. But that's all I want to go over. So thanks for watching.